So we've been following, of course, the slippage of Justin Trudeau over the past number of months, and really burst onto the scene with some major draconian moves against his own people that really got us really up in arms, and moving towards an authoritarian government in Canada. It's no secret that Justin Trudeau's government attempting to curtail personal freedoms and censor speech, and he doesn't like when you speak your mind or you speak out against the government. Well, we got word overnight that yes, in fact, Trudeau's internet bill, C-11, the Online Streaming Act, the head of Canada's Broadcasting and Telecommunications regulator, again confirming that these far-reaching regulations will in fact apply to user-generated content.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is not good. That means
your trucker convoy was the last of those kind of parties, because you won't be able to disseminate if you want to do that again.
Right. Among other things. But this is authoritarian, where you can tell if, again, we saw him take the piss out of independent media.
Yes.
That you have, be like registered as a news organization. It's basically state-controlled media.
Yes.
So he told Rebel News, of course, we play that clip a lot, but he took on Rebel News and he said, "You are not a news organization, and I'm not going to dignify by calling you a news organization." And then what is a news organization according to you, Justin Trudeau? Falls in lockstep with what the government of Canada actually wants? Or so the CBC is actually supporting.
Actually, there was a study recently that shows what a news organization is that something like 80% of journalists are from upwardly mobile, wealthy, elite families, right? Mm-hmm. So who does he want? Like, disseminating information is not anyone scrappy and of the people.
No, so if you go to like cbc.ca, right? This is their this is a news organization in Canada, of course, that is sanctioned by the Canadian government to put out propaganda. And I know journalists who are Canadian who've been covering the Ukrainian conflict, who are stunned at how the Canadian government and the Canadian journalism community treats some of its own journalists who are independent and free of these state-run medias. Literally are in favor of promoting violence against journalists. And you have certain journalists who are in fact on Ukrainian lists to be removed from life, gone after by the Ukrainian government. And that's okay, according to the CBC. We can out those people.
I'm looking at this story about Justin Bieber, who can't buy a Ferrari. Yeah, that's good journalism too.
That's top, fantastic journalism.
Yes.
And so Justin Trudeau, of course, told us just a few weeks ago about how governments, he was noticing this slippage, right? And we've seen it coming. And we need to stand strong with democratic values around the world. That's why we need to stand with Ukraine. I'm wearing my little Ukraine pin. And this is, we've seen this coming in democracies. It's starting to slip. Our freedoms are starting to slip. Yet it also helps if you take them away from people. Here was Justin Trudeau just a few weeks ago. Listen.
We've come to a moment that, quite frankly, we've seen coming over the past years. And we've talked about it in the news, not just about Ukraine, but about democracies around the world, that we see a bit of a slippage in our democracies. Countries turning towards slightly more authoritarian leaders. Countries allowing increasing misinformation and disinformation to be shared on social media, turning people against the values and the principles of democracies that are so strong.
Because it's not the democracy, surely.
Slippage over the years, unfortunately, emboldened Putin.
Oh, it emboldened Putin.
Made him think that he could get away with this.
Oh.
That he could get away with it in Ukraine.
Oh, it was Putin that's getting away with it. I see. I mean, he says that with a straight face. He literally says that with a straight face.
Yeah.
That democracies around the world are we've seen this coming. We've seen some slippage. And you know what? We've got to stand strong for our Western values, our democratic values. We've got to stand for freedom. We've got to make sure that we stand for human rights. So how do you support your journalists right now who are literally on attack lists by the Ukrainian government? Your own Canadian journalists covering the truth in Ukraine, and you're standing with tyranny over freedom and democracy. Like, that's what you're standing for.
And trying to pass a bill giving yourself the power to decide what independent voices will be allowed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're going to pick what voices that get to register with the government.
Yeah.
It's like, come to the government office and let us know what your viewpoints are. How do you plan to tell the story of Canada? How do you plan? What are your values?
Sometimes I feel like it's just a graphic novel. It's like, you just did something kind of evil. Maybe you should wait a few bars before you do something else.
Frames?
Yeah, evil. Like, just wait it out, Petey the cat. Like, hang on a bit. You know? Like, oh, we got to do something else that takes freedom then.
I don't know. I'm just so disillusioned with these leaders, and to hear these guys who, it's okay for them to funnel Canada's funneled $1 billion to Ukraine, right?
Yes.
And you're funneling money to a corrupt government. Ukraine is listed as the most corrupt government in Europe, right? So you're funneling billions to a corrupt government, lecturing us about democratic values and freedom, taking away freedoms in your own country. You have journalists who are from Canada covering the corruption in Ukraine, and they're on targeted lists to be taken out by the Ukrainian government, and you don't say a damn thing or protect them, by the way. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.